Oh, hi! This week has been chaotic, but got through a little bag that I'm so excited about. To me, this looks like a taco. I know they're called dumpling bags, but maybe it's just the fabric I picked. And the fact that I paired this with some taco fabric, I'm gonna make some more wristlets with. I actually used a free pattern. I will link in the description to the website. It's called michellepatterns.com. If you would like to give it a go yourself, you don't have to try to figure out my pattern note nonsense about the stuff that I have put up for free. I didn't think it was understandable at a couple points, but then as I was making it with my actual hands, saw what the only option was to manipulate it in the way to get from point A to point B, then it made sense and it clicked. I'm very good at getting completely in my head, getting overwhelmed and not even processing the words anymore when there's a lot of steps and I can't fully picture how the thing goes. So this is testament of if you just dive in and do the dang thing, you'll figure it out. I had like 70% confidence that this was going to turn out okay. And obviously there's things I would still do better for next time now that I know. But anyways, let's get right into it because as I have mentioned, next week I have a tonsillectomy and I'm really nervous about it, but I'm probably going to be missing a week or two. I may have a video up next week depending on how my workflow is leading up to the surgery, but it's likely the week or two after that I won't be fully functional. Just so you can measure your expectations, here's what you need. Ooh, I started to open it before I sat down, so sorry you didn't get the full noise. Is that good ASMR? Also, yeah, I don't often have beer on here anymore. So I printed off this 2-page pattern set from the website I mentioned. Again, it's totally free. This isn't sponsored or anything, just very cool that there are so many resources available. And if you have things you've been wanting to try that are open source, things like this, I'd love to try it. I do have a bunch of stuff bookmarked that I'm finally getting through. It's as if the medication is helping me function as a person. So yeah, this is something I've been meaning to get around to for ages, as is the case with every project of mine, is it not? Anyway, I just picked a swath of quilting cotton for the outer, and then I thought I got a similar type of fabric for the lining. Maybe there's just more synthetic content in the yellow, but yeah, this is the lining I got that I will not be using for future projects. This is all I have left of it though. It does have a more plasticky feel than this fabric for sure, so I'm gonna guess that's why it was doing whatever the fuck it was doing earlier. I'm learning, slowly but surely, but I'm learning. Then I had a pretty long zipper. It does say to use 14 inches or more, and this was just one I had hanging out that vaguely matched. I'm sure I picked it off of something over the years and have been hoarding it forever. Nylon zipper, but it does have a metal zipper tab and it's all worn off, so who knows? I've probably had that zipper longer than some of you have been alive at this point. P.S. Speaking of being on here a long time, I went to look at my channel profile to find a playlist I was putting together. Oh, I finally sent out the mix CDs for the DJ Bog Troll Birthday Party Mix 2022. I had a bunch of printer issues. I managed to bring about the end of 2 different printers today after an entire week of trying to get the first one to work, and then the second one had similar issues and neither of them are supported anymore. So even though I called and it kept saying that there were cartridge issues, they basically told me that both things were like the blue screen of death on a computer. It was bad luck. It's just been bad technology luck. Oh, anyway, how did I even get on this tangent? Just trying to explain what my week has been like. And it's only Monday. I also have some bias tape. That's for binding the edges at the very end of the project. Also, you know, the usual stuff. Scissors, pins, sewing machine, matching thread. Also an iron, which will aid in the iron-on interfacing we're going to use for this. So first step is obviously picking which pattern I wanted to use. There is a smaller one that says harder and a slightly bigger one that says easier. So you're goddamn right, I went with the easier one for my first time around. Which honestly, I probably would have gone hard mode on a different day, but I have had my brain leaking out of my ears. A little hiccup with a printer is enough of a frustration for me to get like angry tears going, but with the shit that was going on today, I ended up curled up in a like rage ball, just trying not to pull all of my hair out of my head. Felt like my whole body was going to burst into flames. Everything's fine now. The luck I had for the first half of today was not great. Someone can tell I'm even stressed talking about the printer situation this morning. Okay, on to the prep steps now that we have our pile of shit. I made sure to press out the outer fabric just so it was nice and crisp. Then I folded it over once so that there were 2 layers, and I set the pattern down with the bottom edge on the fold. It'll indicate on the pattern. Then I marked that with chalk and cut that out. Also, goddamn, I love these little Choco pens. Choco markers. Chalk deposit wheels, and they make the best noise and are just wildly helpful. I also didn't think about the fact that this was a directional fabric, but I actually like how it looks going sideways. It's almost like fish scales this way, where I did intend for it all to point up, but when you cut something on the fold, one way is going to go up and the other way is going to go down. Unless you split it in half and then cut the two. Like I could have had a seam on the bottom to make this work, but I didn't want to immediately start going rogue on this pattern. Then I repeated all those steps with the lining. Then I had to cut out 2 pieces of interfacing on the fold because both the outer layer and the lining were getting interfaced. I like to warm up the wrong side of the fabric before I put the interfacing on because it just kind of helps it adhere a little better, or maybe I just tell myself that. Then there's a little diagram with a lot going on with the zipper. I was very overwhelmed reading the instructions and looking at this, but then it's just a matter of marking up from the metal stop at the bottom of your zipper. You go up 2 inches from that, I guess minimum 2 inches from that. I also didn't understand if they meant you needed to notch the zipper like each side every ½ inch or like alternate, so it was kind of like inch gaps between each one. I will tell you, having marks every inch or ½ inch, like little tiny notches less than 1/4 of an inch into the zipper tape, not enough so it'll shred anywhere, but enough that it'll go around this curve because it's like a half circle here. I went back and notched in between all of the previous notches. It just wasn't giving it enough of a curve with what I had done initially. So I ended up notching both sides of the zipper at most 3/4 of an inch apart from each other. I'm probably overcomplicating the explanation and y'all understood the diagram better than I did, but my brain doesn't always go to the most obvious, least complicated solution for things. That's why I have to learn in a hands-on approach. Then it was time to start the assembly. I took the right side of one curved edge of the outer fabric and put that right sides together with the zipper. I lined up that 2-inch mark with the edge of the curve, and then using my zipper foot on my sewing machine, I did a basting stitch across the whole thing and just took my time with the curve and the notches and making sure it was lining up nice and flat. Then this wasn't in the instructions to do, but it seemed less complicated to re-zip the zipper and then likewise mark the other end of the zipper tape so that I knew where the other end point was, just so that way lining up the other curved edge, I would know if I had to like ease the zipper a little bit here and there to make sure both edges were in the same spot. Then it was a matter of attaching the lining right sides together with the outer fabric so the zipper's kind of sandwiched in the middle, and I just lined up the curved edges, basically like the same marks on the zipper tape that I just did. The instructions did say to hand baste. I very cavalierly went ahead and machine basted all of this, and wouldn't you know it, I got a couple puckers on one of the lining edges, so I had to unpick that and restitch it, so hand basting may have been helpful here. Then I started to flip everything right sides out and realized I didn't notch the curved edges of the fabric, where you can basically follow the zipper notches and just making sure you're not going through any of the stitching lines. So I flipped it back inside out, notched both curved edges, and then flipped it right side out again. Then, as it says in the instructions, you just kind of like finger press along the edge and try to get the curve to look as nice as you can without actually ironing this. And then you just top stitch down and it's going to make it look a lot nicer. This is often the kind of edge that I omit any pressing because when you top stitch over layers like this, it always looks really nice. And that notching I went back and redid on the inside does help this lay way neater. A nice smooth finish. Then I did a little quick test zip just to see the general shape this was going to be, and this is like one of the magical moments where you can see the whole thing coming together, where up until now I did not know. Then here's a step I was confused about because it didn't have explicit instructions. It just said to close the ends, but it didn't show like how to lay everything, and it wasn't super obvious because I've never flattened a shape like these little cutout corners at the bottom here. But as I said, I kind of have to do things myself to really figure out what the fuck is happening, and as soon as I tried to lay it flat, I realized, oh, okay. So I actually notched the opposite corner of this little cutout just right in the center so that I could properly line up that edge with the center of the zipper so it laid nice and flat and even. Stitched over that really carefully because zipper teeth can be a bitch, so I did that on both ends, and I did make sure that the zipper head was between those two end points. I do have one pucker on one of the closed ends, so something for me to watch out for next time. I flipped the bag inside out again, and then I took the bias tape, folded the short edges in on themselves so that there weren't any raw edges sticking out anywhere. Obviously hand sewing this down would have made it look neater because there were some corners sticking out underneath, but I just bound these flat edges with a little piece of bias tape, and that was the final step. I again took my time going over where the zipper was just so nothing wrecked my machine. Flipped it out, and I'm so excited about how this came out, and I'm glad I stuck it out and actually got this project done because I cannot express to you how not cool I was earlier today for like half the day. Sometimes you just gotta push through the shit show to like get to the other side, and I am ridiculously lucky with how the rest of my day turned out just because I have incredibly supportive friends and a partner. I feel very, very lucky and very, very spoiled. And speaking of, as I mentioned earlier, I will be missing some work. Like, yes, videos and stuff, but like my other part-time jobs while I'm recovering from the surgery. I have been putting this off for 8 years. My tonsils have been an issue for that whole time. The ENT in my assessment asked me how many times a year my tonsils have a pain flare or whatever he called it. And I was like, my dude, it's never not painful. It always hurts. Sometimes it's just way worse than the other times. And he's like, oh, yeah, we can't have that. A quality of life improvement I am very much looking forward to. It hasn't felt possible before, but because I have such incredible support from everybody over on Patreon, y'all are why I'm able to do this. I'm telling you all this just so you understand the impact y'all have and how much better my life is because of y'all. So thank you. I'm getting sweaty. Anyways, this guy will not wait any longer for his corned beef bits. And I also don't want to keep waiting because I'm hungry. It takes a lot of energy out of you getting as stressed out as I have been. Did I not warn you that this was a chaotic time? We're gonna go, but we will see you back here with another video next Friday. I think 99% sure next Friday is the date of my surgery, so fingers crossed. And thank you for hanging out. And then I tried to eat my lunch, which was soup, with a fork. So that's where I've been at today.